Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Today in Quarantine. Today is episode 39, and I'm Renee Cross, your host, and today we're talking about what life is like today in quarantine. That's right, we are in the midst of this virus thingy, and here we are, um, still in quarantine, still doing what we've got to do to keep our country safe. So yeah, there it is. It's real. It's happening. It's now. We are living through history, remind you. So just keep that in mind as life goes on, which it always does. One of the things that astounds me is that nature is still carrying on as though it was normal. Right now. I remember when this coronavirus thing still started happening and the whole world seemed like it was shutting down, there were still flowers that were starting to bud. The trees were starting to bud, There was a hailstorm. Nature just keeps going. It's just that I find comforting in the fact that there's all this stuff happening, but there are some things that are constant, Some things are constant. I find comfort in the consistency. So I hope you can find comfort in that today as well. Today in quarantine, what I've done is more online teaching, online Zoom meetings, and all that jazz. It's an interesting world to be in. I just really miss seeing my kids and just being around them. It kind of hit me hard today that there's all this. And I just, I don't get to see them anymore. I see some of them on Zoom, but I have 150 students, and today I saw 4. Not even. I saw 3. So, yeah. But I have hope that at the end of this, we'll be okay, and we will finish it off. So, thinking about things like the consistency of other things around us gives me hope for the future. One other thing, somebody told me this a long time ago, even behind the clouds, the sky is still blue. And I just love that. So that was awesome. It just means to say that even though, there's the thing that's like, oh, behind the clouds, the sun is still shining, which is, yeah, I heard that one a lot, but I never heard the sky is always blue behind the clouds, which just kind of paints our perspective, even though like the things that we see are not great. Consistently behind the things that we see is something that's even better. So I appreciate that quite a lot. Something that I'm trying to think about in these times. I had a lot of my kids, I think I mentioned it on the show last week, that my assignment for last week was for kids to send in a recording of themselves playing one of our concert songs that we were going to play. And that idea was to kind of create one of those, multi-track videos with everybody playing this one song together. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. It's going to be quite a thing if we can pull it off. And by we, I really mean if I can put this editing thing together. So I don't know. It's tricky. Super tricky. It's kind of stressful thinking about it, but that's okay. We'll see what happens. If nothing else, I'll have an audio recording because that seems to be working out just okay. My orchestra kids have been turning that in pretty well, and I think we'll be able to pull it off. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, it's going to be interesting. Yeah. It makes me just shake a little bit in my boots thinking about it. But yeah, as a district, we're seeing about 35 to 50% participation within our school district, and that's on all levels. That's about the number of students who are participating in online learning right now. And that's just about what I'm seeing. Sorry. It's just about what I'm seeing in my classes as well. So the world is going to look very different in September. very, very different, or whenever this thing gets over. Speaking of which, a lot of people are trying to accelerate the getting over part. The states of Tennessee and Georgia are starting to open things back up. And as I just read on NPR, today is when Tennessee was going to allow restaurants to start reopening. And yesterday is when they saw their biggest increase of coronavirus cases. They had a 5% increase of coronavirus cases. So if you're in Tennessee, please just stay home. Just weather it out, even if it doesn't, if it doesn't seem like you should, or if the governor says that you can go back out, please stay inside for your sake and the sake of those around you. Just, stay inside. Georgia is also one of those states that is trying to reopen. And yeah, interestingly, I read something about how I think South Dakota didn't adapt a stay-at-home order, and they're doing okay. They just asked everybody to follow the recommendations of 6 feet apart and all that. That article was kind of from a biased source. So not exactly sure what the details are on that, but I know that South Dakota does have one of the lower rates of coronavirus, so they did something right. But I'd have to check out a little bit more of that before I can expound. So that's very interesting type thing. But it's Monday. Yeah, just kind of living the life. I actually had a couple more jokes that some of my students shared, and I'll have to share those with you guys because they're pretty good jokes. One gave me a pretty good laugh, so I'll share that one a little bit later. But first, the weather report. Today's weather is about 80 degrees. It's pretty nice. I haven't quite been outside yet, but just a little bit. Yesterday evening, I went biking with a friend, and we went probably about 10 or 11 miles around the city. It was fun. I went to route I had not gone before, so that was good. The question is asked, how are my plants? My plants are doing all right. The cats have been mostly staying out of them because I put some foil around it. Like I said, if you haven't looked up foil and cats, please do, because it's really funny. One of my cats actually jumped onto it, and I saw her jump off. It's really funny, actually. I'm not sure what creates that reaction. I wonder if there's some sort of like electric shock or something, because there's a really jarring reaction. They touch the foil and they're immediately scared. So it's a very interesting thing. But yeah, so later today I'll go see how my plants are doing. I watered them a little bit today. And yeah, Andrew says his cat takes. That's a smart cat. I guess that's not working for you too well, buddy. Yeah. Well. It's time for some jokes, and I've got quite a few of them today. Probably space them out, but that's all right. All right, so I've shared some of the jokes on here, but there are a couple more that some of my students added after I shared those. So I'll read them to you now. One of them said, "Help! I'm in trouble. I ran over something, and now I ran over something sharp, and now my tire is flat. I need a quarter note for the phone. Do I need to repeat any of that?" It's pretty good. And here's one. So let's see if I can do this one by myself. Knock, knock. Who's there? Who? Who? You sound like an owl. But last night I stayed up all night wondering where the sun had gone, and then it dawned on me. And one of my students put this one in here. Yeah, one of my students put this one in here, which just cracked me up for some reason. She said, "My neighbors listen to good music, whether they like it or not." It's like, no, and she's probably her neighbors are listening to good music, whether or not they like it. That's up to them. um, and the next one is, why was I given a ticket in orchestra? I was speeding. And that's funny because that kid really plays fast. So there you go. You have it. All right. So my mom reminded me of a joke from yesterday, um, which I'll have to tell today because it's pretty great. So there was this fireman and his wife, and the fireman and his wife were his wife was expecting to have a baby, and so she was actually expecting twins, and she and the firemen, they're just living kind of their normal lives, and all of a sudden she goes into labor. Now the fireman's not the brightest bulb in the ceiling, bulb socket. He's not a smart guy, but that's okay. So they get to the hospital, and the wife has the baby, but there's some complications with the surgery, and so she is knocked out. And she has the baby, or she has the babies, and they're fine. They're twins. And the doctor goes to the husband. He says, "All right, well, you have two beautifully healthy children. What would you like to name them?" And of course, like, the wife is still knocked out. She's not conscious right now. And so she said, so it's up to the fireman to come up with what to name the kid. And so he says, okay, well, the first one we're going to name Jose. And the doctor's like, oh, yes, strong, solid name. So then the second one, he said, the second one we'll name Jose. Yeah. Oh man! In a variation on that story, there's another person who's having twins, and um, she goes to the hospital. She has the twins, and she is not doing too well. But as she's giving birth, and she's knocked out, her brother comes, and the doctor says, "Hey, after you said your sisters had two beautiful children. This is great for you guys. Congrats." And she's not doing too well right now, so it's up to you to name the kids. And he said, "Oh, okay, all right." Well, he said, "Yeah, well, there's a boy and there's a girl." He said, "Okay, all right, cool." So he thought about it for a second, and he said, "Okay, well, the girl I'd like to name Denise." He's like, "Oh yeah, good, solid, strong name." And the boy, he said, we'll name that one the nephew." Oh boy, really should have spaced out those jokes, but that's okay. We all need a good laugh today, don't we? But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed those jokes today. Hope you've enjoyed today in quarantine today, and that you've gotten a little bit more of a push to get your Monday going. Even sometimes just saying these jokes out loud for me just kind of makes my mood a little bit better. I think that's what it's done for today. So, yeah, thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining us, my faithful 3 viewers, and anybody who watches this afterwards. I'll try and have an interview coming up this week, so we'll see about that. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow in quarantine for another episode of Today in Quarantine. Thanks, everybody, and goodbye.